Story 1. When someone is not curious about the little things, it can signal a lack of genuine interest in you. If they never ask how your day went or show interest in your quirks and passions, it indicates they are not invested in getting to know you. While it may seem minor, those everyday details build intimacy, and when they are absent, it feels off. Story 2. Accountability. If there is always a problem and it is always someone else's fault, run. Eventually, it will be your fault. Story 3. Libido can easily drive a wedge between partners if they are on opposite sides of the spectrum. Story 4. One of the biggest deal breakers in relationships that people often overlook is a lack of emotional support during tough times. It is not about the grand gestures, but when you are struggling, having a partner who listens, understands, and is simply there for you can make all the difference. If someone cannot provide that support when you need it most, it can significantly affect the relationship in the long run. Story 5. The responsibility of initiating plans is often placed on one person, but I have observed that this can damage relationships, as it may be perceived as a lack of interest by others. Story 6. Their relationship with their phone during dates has been frustrating. I've been out with guys who constantly check their phones, take calls, or scroll through social media while we are supposed to be getting to know each other. This behavior shows a complete lack of respect for my time and attention. Story 7. Desire to have children. Many people believe they will address that situation when it arises until it does, and then they hesitate. Story 8. A relationship deal breaker for me would be someone who is not willing to take responsibility for their mistakes. We all mess up, but if you cannot admit when you are wrong or learn from it, then how can we grow together? It is about respect and maturity, and that is something that many people overlook. Story 9. If you are considering marriage, make sure you like your partner's side of the family. In-laws can significantly impact your marriage. Story 10. Management of mental illnesses is important. I don't mind dating someone with a mental illness, but it is not my responsibility to fix you or to force you to manage it. Uncontrolled depression, anxiety, and mania are detrimental to a relationship. A partner should not be obligated to deal with the consequences just because you refuse to seek professional help or medication when needed. Story 11. Sarcasm is charming at first, but if overdone, it reveals underlying bitterness and anger. It may seem trivial compared to other issues. Story 12. People have different levels of motivation. If you have someone who is unwilling to engage in activities and someone who is always eager to participate, the passive individual will often feel as though they cannot find relief, while the active person may feel constrained. Story 13. Cleanliness is important in both directions. I have lived with a man who had meltdowns over a few crumbs on the kitchen counter, and with another man who left trash around and never cleaned up after himself. Story 14. Not sharing values. As a society, we have come to view dating as simply we randomly got together, like each other, and want to see where this goes in the next 2 to 12 years, rather than specifically seeking someone with whom we share values and goals for intentional growth together. Story 15. If a messy person and a tidy person try to cohabitate, they will both feel resentment towards each other. The messy individual will feel constantly nagged, while the tidy person will become miserable and exhausted in their own home. A tidy person can manage to live with someone who is more messy, but someone who does not take care of their living space is generally incompatible with anyone. Story 16. How they treat other women in general is important. If they cannot treat their parent, grandparent, sister, or cousin with respect, what makes you think they will treat you with respect? Story 17. Emotional unavailability disguised as independence is someone who avoids deep connections under the pretense of being self-sufficient. Story 18. Dead bedroom. Sometimes it feels trivial at first, but it can build until it becomes unresolvable. No matter how much love and compatibility there is, one person may not want to live the rest of their life that way. Story 19. Not being able to spend time apart from a partner can be challenging. If one partner is overly clingy and does not have their own life outside of the relationship, it is a strong indication that they may not allow the other person to have a life outside of the relationship as well. Story 20. Lack of respect. You can fall in and out of love during a relationship and can rekindle it again. However, if she stops respecting you, then it's the end, and you are simply maintaining a dead relationship, hoping to revive it. Story 21. The amount of effort put into a relationship matters greatly. Small questions can significantly affect a relationship. Who does the dishes? Who does the laundry? Who runs errands? Who takes care of pets or children, if there are any? The person who contributes the least to these activities can greatly impact the dynamic of the relationship. I have seen this in a marriage of 8 years, where the man had to handle all the errands, take care of the children, and earn money, while the woman primarily cooked and cleaned, often repeating the same tasks poorly. She manipulates him and emotionally blackmails him, threatening self-harm if he tries to discuss the situation. He feels trapped in the marriage solely for the sake of the children. Story 22. Having no transportation makes it difficult for me to get around due to my epilepsy. The distance often creates challenges. Story 23. Discussing children and fertility is essential. Do you want children? What if one or both of you has fertility issues? Do you want in vitro fertilization? Have you considered adoption? Are you hesitant due to the costs? Do you know when to stop trying? These topics are crucial to discuss. Story 24. The other family members. I strongly disliked 2 of my former partner's family. They were always wanting money or free work from me. Story 25. Taking care of yourself depends on the couple, but if someone is going through a mentally difficult time and does nothing to improve themselves, it can lead to problems in the relationship. I understand struggling, as I have experienced depression. If a person is emotionally abusive or neglects their health through poor diet, lack of exercise, heavy drinking, or smoking, with no motivation to change, the relationship is unlikely to last or may lead to ongoing misery. Both mental and physical health significantly impact mood and behavior toward others. Individuals need to demonstrate growth and a willingness to improve in a relationship. Otherwise, it can become a miserable experience. Story 26. Resistance to change is common. Change is inevitable in any relationship, whether it involves career shifts, health challenges, fluctuating income, or reduced free time. A partner who struggles to adapt can create difficulties, as change occurs regardless of your willingness to accept it. That is simply a part of life. Story 27. Driving is important. This person will be driving you, your family, and potential future children. Road rage, using a phone while driving, or being too anxious to be behind the wheel are all deal breakers for me. Story 28. Pets are an important topic in a relationship, almost as crucial as discussing children. Having aligned expectations about current and future pets is vital, as differences in this area can potentially jeopardize the relationship. Story 29. Division of labor. I dated a man who looked great on paper. He was a doctor, made good money, and adored me, among other things. However, after a couple of years of dating, it became clear that he felt his only role in our relationship was to work and bring home money. Yes, his job was demanding, but I also worked at a demanding job. Somehow, his work was considered more demanding. The point really hit home for me when I had a serious family emergency and truly needed his help. He hesitated before agreeing to assist me. While he did come to help, he was petulant and miserable because he worked all day and was tired and hungry. I worked all day too, and I was tired and hungry, but things needed to get done, so I expected him to just do it. This made it clear to me that he was not the man I wanted to build a life with or raise children, as I would likely be doing it all alone. I ended the relationship. Everyone thought I was crazy, but it was the right decision for me. About a year later, I met my now husband of almost 20 years, and he is my true partner in life. We work together to raise the kids and keep the house running. I never have to question whether he will help me when I need it. He just does, and he does it gladly, no matter how tired he is or how much he worked that day. It's like night and day compared to my ex. For what it's worth, my ex married someone about a year after we broke up. They divorced after about 10 years and 2 kids. I am not at all surprised. Story 30. Don't date a smoker unless you want to be around that for the rest of your life. Do not expect them to change eventually. Story 31. Racism is a significant issue. Your love interest might accept you, but if her family does not, are you prepared to deal with the challenges every day, especially if you both live near their family? No matter how level-headed you are, it will eventually affect you. Their family will always be their family, and you cannot change the mindset of people who are unwilling to change. If the relationship does not work out, the common comment will often be negative stereotypes about your background. Story 32. When your senses of humor don't match. I see many couples where they do not share a sense of humor, and that would drive me up the wall. Story 33. Asking or demanding to get rid of pets is not acceptable. My pets are my world, and I wouldn't give them up. Do not settle for someone who treats you this way. There are other people out there who will love you and your pets. Story 34. Rigidity and constant judgment can harm a relationship. Not being able to accept your partner's differences and certain personality traits while expecting them to fully accept you creates imbalance. Imposing your expectations on your partner without allowing them space to be themselves will ultimately damage the relationship. Don't be an immovable barrier. Remember, your partner is not just your partner, but an individual. Story 35. Observe how you handle small conflicts. If it takes a lot of energy, I would say no. Story 36. Enmeshment with family is toxic, especially when individuals cannot stand up against their family, even if they know deep down that it is wrong. Story 37. If one person is constantly complaining and blames you for every inconvenience, it becomes overwhelming to deal with every day. My ex would blame me if there was traffic and would say I needed to plan better. These constant microaggressions are exhausting. Story 38. Different religions can be a concern for some individuals in a relationship. If one partner is Christian and the other is not, it raises questions about how to raise children. Will they be baptized? Will the non-Christian partner feel comfortable with the other spending time with the Bible, praying, and going to church on most Sundays? Additionally, there may be differing views on aspects of intimacy and marriage. Story 39. Always pay full attention to the in-laws, their attitudes, expectations, and political beliefs. Story 40. If they cannot support me at my worst, I do not want them. No matter how many times they return, I am done. Story 41. Food preferences. You will share at least one meal together almost every day, and if you both do not have significant overlap in what you like, you may quickly tire of the limitations this places on your meals, especially if you take leftovers to work for lunch. Story 42. Pleasing during first dates. Date. I love art. You, yeah, me too. But you don't. At some point, you will feel overwhelmed trying to engage in things you don't enjoy and pretending you do. This starts the relationship on a foundation of lies. Story 43. When a partner is dealing with a health issue that has treatment available but refuses to seek it out due to stubbornness, I expect both of us to keep our sides of the street clean. Story 44. If communication is really poor, the reasons why some may or may not communicate easily vary significantly. Sometimes it even stems from challenging situations. However, I have found that if there is a lack of effort to continuously address how and why communication is inadequate, it diminishes my motivation to maintain the relationship. I have experienced negative consequences by allowing poor communication to fester, and as the relationship progressed, it was unfortunately perceived as a one-sided issue. Story 45. Not liking my animals and telling me I have to rehome them for there to be a relationship will never happen. They were here long before you and will be here long after you are gone. Story 46. Do not present a divided front. Avoid disagreeing even on minor issues in front of others. If your partner expresses something you disagree with in public, address it with them privately later. Story 47. Some people interpret another person's dedication as a sign of their greatness, while others view it as a reflection of their own worth. When these perspectives are combined in a relationship, it can lead to a one-sided dynamic. Story 48. How they talk about their exes says a lot about them. If they claim every ex was difficult, that is a red flag. Chances are they were part of the problem. Story 49. Having minor deal breakers. If you are willing to give up without any consideration, you are not valuing yourself. Story 50. Music taste doesn't have to align much at all, but there should be at least one genre or artist you both enjoy together. If you have completely different music tastes, it can make road trips difficult. Story 51. When the dog does not like someone, it seems to know these things. Reflecting on the years, I realized that anyone the dog didn't like often ended up being a problem or a mistake. Trust your pet's instincts. Story 52. Being tired of the world and wanting to stay inside versus being tired of the world and wanting to go out and explore. Story 53. Healthy and active lifestyles are important. If one person is very active and avoids junk food while the other does not, it may eventually lead to resentment. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.